from the Lakeside newsroom of the Henrico Citizen, your hometown news source since 2001. This is the Henrico News Minute with publisher Tom Lapis.
Calls grow louder for the nickname of a Henrico school to change, and why calls for the name change of another school are just a bit misguided, to say the least. We'll have details about those stories and more in today's Henrico News Minute for Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. It's brought to you today by Nathan's Roof Repairs.
And now for the news.
In light of local and national protests spawned by the death of George Floyd in Minnesota last month, some locals are again calling for the nickname and mascot of a Henrico high school to be changed. In the past, Douglas Freeman High School's Rebels nickname has been the target of criticism and calls for its removal, but it's also generated significant support from those who want it to remain in place. So far, it's stood the test of time since the school opened in 1954, but calls for change are beginning to grow once more. Tuckahoe District School Board member Marcy Shea, a former Freeman science teacher, has received more than 800 calls and emails urging the change. Freeman's first-year principal John Marshall also has heard from those on both sides of the issue. Marshall said that during the school year he and his staff have worked to give meaning to the term rebels that doesn't reference Confederate soldiers, but instead focuses on challenging the status quo and changing the world. He said it's too early to speculate if anything will come of this latest call for change to the nickname, but he said, quote, "What we're doing right now is listening. That's the most important part," end quote. Although the school board has the authority to name schools or change their names, as it did in 2016 when it renamed Byrd Middle School to Quioccasin Middle, it traditionally has allowed schools to make their own decisions about nicknames, mascots, and school colors. Both Shea and Three Chop District School Board member Mickey Ogburn said they would favor continuing that policy, and in fact Ogburn said that when the board meets next on June 18th, it could consider the idea of creating a formal policy amendment to outline clearly that the decision about nicknames and mascots be made by each school individually. You can read my in-depth article about this topic on HenricoCitizen.com right now. Also on HenricoCitizen.com now, you can read about why dozens of other people are upset that another West End school is named for two prominent Confederate leaders. There's just one problem. It actually isn't. Although Jackson Davis Elementary School evokes the names of Stonewall Jackson and Jefferson Davis, it's actually named for former superintendent of Henrico Schools, Jackson T. Davis, a white man who, perhaps ironically, was known as an early champion for the education of blacks. It was Jackson who, as a 24-year-old superintendent in the early 1900s, helped advance the career of now legendary black teacher Virginia Randolph and her efforts to craft a teaching program for other black teachers in the county. Those efforts ultimately resulted in her creation of the Henrico Plan, a model that was implemented throughout the South. Davis served as the county superintendent from 1905 to 1909, then left to spend 6 years as state agent for African American rural schools for the Virginia State Department of Education. In 1915, he left for a role with the General Education Board, a philanthropic entity that supported higher education and helped rural schools nationwide. He spent more than 30 years with the group and was instrumental in helping to create the United Negro College Fund, which to this day provides scholarships for black students who attend 37 historically black colleges and universities. But Three Chop District School Board member Mickey Ogburn said she's received several dozen calls and emails from people wanting the name of the school changed without realizing who it's actually named for. She told the Citizen yesterday, quote, "It's a good time to put this rumor to rest," end quote. School system officials are working on a few tweaks to help the public understand that the name has nothing to do with the Confederacy. One plan is to begin using Davis's middle initial T in all formal as part of the school's official name. School officials will install a new school marquee sign in the coming months, and it could include that middle initial. The school also has a picture of Davis posted in the cafeteria, but Ogburn said most visitors don't see that, so it will be moved to the office where it's more prominently displayed, and updates to the school's website to make that information more immediate are also in the works. As Virginia went into lockdown to slow the spread of COVID-19 in March, the county's 16 ABC stores reported an increase of about 25% in total sales during the same month when compared with February sales totals. That average then decreased by about 12.5% during the month of April. Every store in the county reported an increase in sales of at least 15% in March when compared to February, except for the store on Pump Road in Short Pump, which sold about 11% more. The store at 10242 Staples Mill Road in Glen Allen saw the highest increase in sales from February to March, from nearly $165,000 in February to more than $247,000 during March, 44% more than it sold in March of last year. Now, all but two of Henrico's ABC stores experienced their highest total monthly sales during the past 16 months in December of last year, but the two that didn't, at 6030 Brook Road and 3816 Mechanicsville Turnpike, experienced theirs during the pandemic. You can read more about this topic at henricocitizen.com, where we've also got a graph showing monthly sales totals for each of the county's ABC stores dating back to January of 2019. The Hanover man who allegedly drove his pickup truck into a group of protesters in Lakeside Sunday night could now face hate crime charges, according to Henrico County Commonwealth's attorney Shannon Taylor. 36-year-old Harry Skip Rogers of Hanover was charged with assault and battery, attempted malicious wounding, and felony vandalism in connection with the incident, which took place near the Roy's Big Burger on Lakeside Avenue. No one was seriously injured in the incident. Yesterday, Taylor said, quote, "The accused, by his own admission and by a cursory glance at social media, is an admitted leader of the Ku Klux Klan and a propagandist for Confederate ideology," end quote. Social media posts showed what appeared to be images of Rogers marching at the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville 3 years ago, and a newspaper article from 4 years ago described him dressing in a KKK robe and holding a Confederate battle flag at the Colonial Heights War Memorial. Taylor said her office is investigating whether hate crimes charges are appropriate in the case. Well, there's now a new way to keep up with all of the Henrico Citizens content. We launched our new app yesterday. It's available now on the iTunes Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for Henrico Citizen and download it. It's free. The app will allow you to stay informed every time we post something on henricocitizen.com. You can set your notification preferences to receive immediate alerts each time a new article or podcast is posted within a specific category. Or, of course, you can turn notifications off as well. Funding for the app was made possible by our Facebook Journalism Project grant that we received last month. And one of our goals in creating the app is to ensure that our news coverage is available to as many Henrico citizens as possible. We're hopeful that the app will engage us with a wider variety of readers and citizens, including more who live in underserved communities within the county and more young people. You can read more about the new app and find links to download it in an article on henricocitizen.com right now. Well, at its work session and general meeting tonight, the Henrico Board of Supervisors is expected to consider several of the proposals made in an email by Varina District Supervisor Tyrone Nelson last week. Nelson is calling for the county to change the name of the Confederate Hills Recreation Center, and he also wants the board to establish a citizen review board for public safety agencies to review cases of alleged misconduct among police officers and others. Now, the four other board members told the Citizen last week that they were open to renaming the Confederate Hills Recreation Center, saying they would defer to Nelson since it's in his district. Nelson also told the Citizen that he may comment on a number of street names surrounding the center, which are named for Confederate generals, including the street that the center itself is on, which is named for Robert E. Lee. We'll have live coverage of tonight's board meeting on henricocitizen.com and also on Twitter at henricocitizen. Be sure to follow us there. Today's Henrico News Minute has been brought to you by Nathan's Roof Repairs, a small company doing big things. Check them out online at nathansroofrepairs.com or call 273-9200 for a free estimate.